live to tape from the Elser Hotel in downtown Miami. We've got a full studio today, full of dudes, crowded with dudes. We got Greg Cote, we got Amin, we got Billy, Tony, Jeremy, we got Roy, we got Mike, we got Stugotz. So many opinions.
Men.
So many dudes.
Men.
So much sausage. Let's start with something that I don't know in the modern age how it could have escaped my attention, because I had not seen any video. I just saw people commenting on social media saying Bobby Portis has now had 2 confrontations with the Heat bench, and he just bumped Erik Spoelstra. I didn't see that when I was watching television. I have, do you guys know what I'm talking about? Have any of you seen it in here?
I haven't. So that would be Bumpgate 2, I guess, with Erik Spoelstra, right? I mean,
it's 10 years since the last one, and the last one came from his own team.
Yeah.
But let's watch this now, because this is courtesy of Bally Sports Sun, and I had not. Bobby Portis is annoying, energy guy, loved where he plays. Not liked anywhere else because he's one of those professional irritants. But you guys tell me, because the bumping of a coach, I was told that Spoelstra initiated the contact, that Spoelstra would have been called for an offensive foul on Bobby Portis, that it was not Bobby Portis that instigated this, that it was an ornery playoff Spoelstra.
The idea is that, Spo is a habitual court stepper, right? That's one of the things he's most renowned for outside of his actual coaching acumen, is that he's a guy that trails into the court when the action's on the other side of the floor. And in the case of this clip, it's on this side of the floor, but he called a timeout. So he was doing the old stroll out.
I feel like he's the most aggressive timeout court stepper that there is in the entire league, and he's been that since the beginning, where he marches out very quickly and fiercely to.
He's on the court already.
Yes, but he does it aggressively and soon, and he's calling a timeout, and he's always hissing, and he's just maximum pissed off. But Portis does give him an elbow here, like it was contact initiated by Spo, but you see that Portis threw his left elbow at him too.
Let me say it this way: if it were yes, Spo ran the red light, or the stop sign. He did the California stop, where you didn't actually stop, you just kind of rolled through an intersection.
Bobby had right away?
Yeah. But Bobby also pushed the gas. Like, he saw a car, and rather than brake, he had the last chance of avoiding something, and he said, no, to hell with that. I'm going to teach this guy a lesson, because I'm driving a semi-truck, and he's driving a Yugo.
But here's the thing. Spo was walking out. He sees Bobby out of the corner of his eye, right? So he's taking those couple steps saying, all right, I'm going to initiate contact here. He kind of braces for a second. BP hits him and then gives him the little shiv.
So who does the cop give the ticket to? That's my question. Because Spo is the Kim Mulkey of NBA men. I mean, he is the guy who's always going to be on the court 2, 3, 4 feet onto the court when he's not. So in this case, I don't know who to give the ticket to.
You give the ticket to the guy who failed to yield in this situation.
That is correct. Roy has it right. The ticket goes to Erik Spoelstra for causing the accident.
Wow.
Why is that a California stop?
That's
Why
what it's
I've
called.
never heard it called a California stop. I
Should get out more.
Bad coaching by Spo, by the way. You got to fall there. You know what I mean?
Flop, right?
You got to flop. No, you flop, and then you have them, like, eject him or give him some sort of technical or flagrant or something. You know what I mean? Like, do something for your team. You have to go to the Jason school, the Jason Kidd School of Coaching, where you say, like, here's a soda. Let's spill this on the floor because we're out of timeouts. You know what I mean?
Gamesmanship.
Exactly right.
That's what you're talking about.
Off of last night, right? Now everybody is talking today about, well, Sabonis did it first, and he grabbed his leg, and was Draymond doing theatrics? Did he really need to stomp on his chest? And did he deserve to get ejected? And we are parsing the videotape, all of it.
He's not flexible, Dan. Like, he's not that flexible.
Well, he's flexible enough to use that leg to kick people in the junk all the time, and they'd have 5 titles if he can control that leg instead of 4. I think that people like Klay Thompson would be holding up 5 fingers at everybody as a trash taunt instead of 4 if Draymond could be controlled. But as we hyper dissect these videos, you guys are so right. If Spoelstra hits the ground with a flop, it's a national controversy. It's not something that's getting to us 2 days late.
Considering how Bobby Portis was playing, he probably should have. But I think it was an accident. But then once Bobby Portis realized he was in that situation and gave him like the James Harden push-off with the forearm.
And that's why the appropriate answer isn't who gets a ticket. They both get a ticket. Spo gets a ticket for failing to yield.
Yeah.
But Bobby Portis had what they called like the Last Chance Doctrine, which is if you have an opportunity to avoid an accident, even if the accident wouldn't be your fault, then you also have a responsibility to do that. And he didn't. He had an opportunity, like Mike said, it could have been just a oops, sorry, and instead he extended and he went extra with it. So
I feel like no matter who is guilty, I want to see Udonis Haslem react. I want him to come off the bench in street clothes. And
that's his job.
That's why I didn't believe it happened, to be honest with you, because Bobby Portis is still Earth.
Stugotz, did Roy text you during that segment? What were you just showing me from?
A little back and forth between me and my friend Bells, perhaps.
Yep.
You know?
Can you not point and put your hand directly in front of the camera when that happens?
Yeah, listen, I was pointing at Roy. It was a very funny comment he made via text.
Did you eat Cheetos or is that the nicotine?
No, I had some Cheetos, actually, this morning on the way in.
upset.
Some breakfast Cheetos. Do you want to share with us and the audience the exchange that you had with Roy? Do either of you want to share it with us?
Yes, you guys wanted me to say that usually the black guy gets the ticket, but I responded with usually the black guy gets arrested in that situation. So
He's right.
I don't know what you're talking about with what I said. I mean, you initiated the conversation, right?
okay.
The Bucks and the Heat, it appears that Antetokounmpo is relatively fine. And what are you laughing about?
He's the greatest healer of all time.
Well, can you walk me through this? Because Woj, I saw him talking about the injury on a Twitter clip, and he said, and we know how tough Giannis is. He refuses to sit during regular season games for injuries. This is an injury that's soreness. So for a guy who we saw play through in the NBA Finals, understood that that's the NBA Finals, but he's reputed to be this super tough guy during the regular season. Back soreness, it must have really hurt. Was that just them not wanting to make it worse and understanding that they're playing the 8th seed? I was confused for a back bruise why he was out.
Why he didn't play the rest of game one, or why he's in question?
He tried to give it a go.
Have you ever had back problems?
Yeah, no, they're really bad, but it's a back bruise, and I also don't have a world-class team of doctors making sure that my back bruise feels better than any back bruise on the planet.
Yeah, I don't think it works as instantaneous as that. It's not like, I have like the best back doctor.
So
in the
he's
world.
not soft.
Giannis?
Yeah, so he's not soft.
Yeah, put that as a headline.
This is just the Bucks knowing they were going to lose that game, whether Giannis played or Giannis didn't play. The game was already going Miami's way,
Weren't
and they
they
said,
up
"Let's
8?
save this guy." Yeah.
All right, you made it seem like they were up 20 yesterday.
They won by 13.
are
It
you-
wasn't like it
are
ran
you
away
more
that
Might
much.
as well have been.
Are you more of a homer than Mike Ryan?
He's way more of a homer
Dude,
than I
he
am.
gets a paycheck. Of course he's more of a homer.
Paid home
Not from the
machine
Miami
of the
Heat.
year.
I don't get paid by the Miami
Oh,
Heat.
please, semantics.
I don't.
The Heat have full
You get-
autonomy over that broadcast.
And also he gets
comment.
he gets paid by a entity that will cease to exist like in 2 weeks.
Hey, don't put him in that
Oh,
spot.
Hey, man.
too soon.
Hey,
come on.
Jeez.
You meant the Heat or Bally's?
But
We're
you
going
made
way
it-
too far. We're going way too
Come on,
far.
if Giannis was healthy, Bucks come back in that game.
No.
Did I?
Okay, all right.
No. Okay.
He's just
Definitely not
oh,
paid
look,
by the
he
Heat.
had
two-
Yeah.
insurmountable 8-point deficit.
They were playing that game well to start. They obviously had a game plan that was working. Giannis had 2 offensive fouls early in that game. Obviously, the Bucks can come back and win. I'm not sitting here and trying to say I'm not. What was the catalyst? They were already up big before Giannis went out. It's not like that was the entire game.
What was
they
the
were
catalyst,
already
though?
they were already playing the Bucks well.
You already asked that question.
Yeah,
Why
what's
are you
the
asking
catalyst?
But
it
what is a
again?
catalyst?
Put it on the
catalyst
poll.
was the start of the game.
We should talk a little bit more about how cool playoff Jimmy is. I always want to harp on this.
He's unbelievable.
Did you see what he did after the game? He put 2 deers in headlights on his Instagram story. I want to dislike him. And during the regular season, I start working up like, man, I just don't like this guy's game. There's just something about this Jimmy Butler. And then he comes into the playoffs, and he becomes friggin' Michael Jordan. It's the craziest thing.
Literally.
Jeremy is out here, not literally. Jeremy
literally.
is
No, literally.
No.
not literally.
literally.
Jeremy,
Statistically.
His son is dating
Statistically.
Larsa Pippen now.
not literally.
That's what happened.
I mean, what are you doing?
Jeremy is a Homer guy, and I would just say to you that even if I remove Giannis from the equation and I make it the Bucks, who were 11-8 this year without Giannis, and 11-8 prorated is basically what the Heat were this year. The difference between those two teams without Giannis would only be Jimmy. Jimmy would only, like, that team without Giannis isn't championship good, but it's kind of the Heat.
They would, without Giannis in this series, they still might be good enough to beat the Heat.
It's a lot more even.
It's a lot more even. It's probably a pick 'em on DraftKings Sportsbook, but
what Dan is saying is that if Giannis doesn't exist, then Jimmy Butler is far and away the best player in the series.
Oh, if Jimmy Butler were a New York Knick, he'd be talked about as the best player in the NBA.
I'm
convinced.
imagine.
Have you seen how they're talking about Jalen Brunson?
Hey, don't you dare.
Look, they made Julius Randle better than Chris Bosh 2 years ago.
They're
man
making saved an organization.
They're making Jalen Brunson better than Donovan Mitchell 1 game in. If Jimmy Butler were a New York Knick, he'd be in the LeBron tier.
Mike, I got to invite you.
Mike is right. I mean,
Mike, I got to invite you into our sports chat, man, where Jalen Brunson greater than Trae Young happened in October. Like that was a definitive claim being made.
If they go up 2-0, he's better than Wade. That narrative starts.
I imagine that Heat fans are terrified of Chris Middleton. Are they not? Is there not a palpable fear of Chris Middleton for the Bucks and what it is that he's done against the Heat and what he does against the Heat?
That's a great question, Dan. Let's go to the Minister of Information, Jeremy Taché.
Yeah, Heat fans don't love watching Chris Middleton score and score and score and score. He is unbelievable against the Heat. And weirdly, like, the Heat defend Giannis better than they defend Chris Middleton. Like, they have, whether it's based off personnel or whether it's based off of just their ability to just throw a bunch of guys at him. It's not to say they actually slow down or stop Giannis, but they have no answer for Chris Middleton offensively.
Pick your poison, Dano.
Well, they've picked it, and the reason Middleton can do that is because they're guarding Giannis. And because Middleton would not be doing all of those things, or he'd be putting up a lot of 9 for 33s if he was out there without Giannis.
They were throwing doubles 2 years ago when they beat them in the bubble. They were throwing doubles Middleton's way, and it didn't matter. He's an elite shot maker. He's a guy that you need in the playoffs because he can make the shots sometimes that are only available. He's an incredible player.
I imagine that what we're going to get to next is Roy wanting that smoke.
Bring on game 2.
Roy, you live in Miramar. Last night and yesterday, did you feel like it was hail that was hitting your house, or that the Boston Bruins were just pounding and shaking your house and terrifying you?
It was hail, Dan.
You had hail, but you had hail at your house? Because I don't know how much hail we get in South Florida. You know, I'm just generally concerned about all of the weather changes everywhere throughout the world. I mean, there's flooding in Fort Lauderdale that I did not know was possible.
Hail's been around forever, Dan.
Thank you, Stugotz. I appreciate it, but I haven't seen a great deal of hail in Miramar. I don't know. Have you felt hail in Miramar before, Roy?
Yes, I have. Definitely last year during a tornado warning. It was hailing then. It was hailing this week as well, but it was not the Bruins. They did not shake the house.
That's the hail of it.
What?
All right. My first in the new studio. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
First of many.
All right, I'm keeping track.
Roy and Mike Ryan wanted to steal one last night in Boston. I don't know if you were expecting to steal one in Boston last night. The bane of playoff losses is giving up goals you cannot give up, giving up bad goals, and your goalkeeping is a question mark.
It was, and that's Alex Lyon's first playoff start, and he looked like he had some of the jitters. That second goal was a really bad one. I thought he was excellent in that first period, and he showed you that special quality that I think Bob lacks a little bit. That third goal I thought was questionable. It could have been challenged. It looked like he was interfered with, but ultimately it's not on the goalkeeping. It's not on the defense. You're not going to beat Boston scoring one goal. You're just not.
No.
Kachuk showed up, and this is now – Barkey's got to show up in these playoffs. He's got to. He was damn near invisible at times last year when they needed him most. He was invisible again last night. They need someone other than Matthew Kachuk to show up.
No, the entire first line didn't show up. No, not Declare, not for Hagee. None of them showed up. So it's going to be a little bit of a lineup shuffle, I think. Sam Bennett's got to get back in the lineup. They got to demote Anthony Duclair probably down to the third line, and you can't have Giovanni Smith.
That game was there. for them. They just
Boston, the players said they were nervous. The Bruins were talking
Well,
about being nervous.
Bergeron
out.
got the stomach bug, and
Yeah.
he was out. And you give them a man advantage for 5 out of the first 6 minutes.
Twice.
Yeah,
Twice.
you can't. You're not gonna succeed that way to pull off an upset. To have the upset Bruin, you can't be making it that easy for Boston. But I'm excited for what those two teams delivered. This was a season series that was split between the two teams at 2-2. So they're the best team ever for a reason.
Yeah. I get why Boston admitted nerves, though. I mean, the President's Trophy curse is sort of a real thing if you believe in curses. 36 times you've had the best record in the league. Only 8 times out of 36 have you gone on to win the Stanley Cup. I just hope right now they don't panic. Paul Maurice does not panic and bench the Lion King based on one bad goal and put in Bob. I think that would send a message that, wow, we're down 1-0 and we are in full panic.
Yeah, he allowed one cheap one, and I would afford him that.
Right.
They already made the hard decision. Bob is one of the richest goalies in NHL history, and he's out there on the sidelines. I'd keep him out there and have faith that you are who you've been with Alex Lyon.
Right. Well, the third goal was sitting on his pad. Ideally, you'd like the goalie to know where the puck is.
No, that play should have been blown dead because the ref, he could not see that puck. It should have been blown dead.
Let me ask you guys a question as more astute observers of hockey than I am. When you say anybody disappeared, don't the Bruins have something to do with that? When you're playing a team that's better than you, and this team is better than the Panthers, better at all kinds of hockey, regular season hockey, I assume better at playoff hockey than the Panthers. When you accuse someone on the Panthers of disappearing, is it allowed to be that the other team is better? Or if a guy on your team is frustrating you, I'm going to say, not that he's not good enough, that he's disappeared when he's playing people who are better than he is.
But no one's questioning whether or not Boston is better than Florida. You still want your individual stars. In this case, Barkov's the best player in franchise history. You want him to perform well, especially with Patrice Bergeron, who's one of the best defensive forwards of all time. If he's out for that game, you would think that Barkov would have more opportunities afforded to him. He just wasn't there. He wasn't that guy. I have faith that he'll turn it around, but this is the second straight crucial playoff series in which you're looking for answers and you're not getting them from Barkov. Tkachuk is the alpha on this team. He showed up. He did his job. Carter Verhaeghe scored 40 goals this season. Nothing much yesterday. Barkov, greatest player in franchise history to this point. Nothing last night.
Zero shots.
I would ask you guys this going forward in the series. Tkachuk, you've been telling me all season that he's elite beyond elite and that only McDavid has been better this year.
Calgary's GM got fired yesterday because of the Huberdeau trade.
Parted ways.
So I
phrasing.
expect him to be great. But I also expect the Bruins to neutralize everyone else the Panthers have.
I could expect them, but if they don't have Patrice Bergeron, that's an opportunity right before you. You got to grab that opportunity, and it's fine if your third line center is getting snuffed out by the Boston Bruins because they're overwhelming. But your best individual players have to show up. And Barkov, how many playoff series are we going to be left questioning? Where is he? He's the best player. This is stuff that best players go through all the time. I think it's totally fair to question, hey, where's Barkov?
But don't you guys feel like just the nature of the sport? It's a weird sport where sometimes your best player goes away for a couple of games. It just happens. No?
I'm just not expecting anything from an 8 seed on the road against a team that's lost 12 times this season.
Yeah, but your best players have to produce. We hold Bam Adebayo to a pretty high standard. We're not going to afford that to the greatest
they've been a 1 seed. This team got into the playoffs the last week of the season. They're an 8 seed. The 8 seed happens to have a record that's whatever it is, 10 games over 500.
If you want to play that game, though, the Panthers were 1 seed last year, and Barkov still didn't show up in that Lightning series. So what are we? It's a semantics.
The Lightning also better than the Panthers,
but not when you're looking at the regular season stats. The Panthers were playing at a historic clip. It's totally fair to demand more from your best player, Dave.
It really is very analogous to the Heat, right? Like the Heat were a 1 seed last year. And Bam also didn't play particularly great. And now they're an 8 seed this year. And Bam played well in the Game 1 victory against the Bucks, but didn't play well in the play-in. So I kind of see your point, Michael. I see your point.
It's just one game in. Even the most optimistic Florida Panthers fan wasn't expecting a 4-game sweep It's going to be a hard series. I think Game 1 reflects that. You cannot put them on the front foot that early on in the game and have back-to-back penalties that early on and have their special teams give them an early goal to settle in that game, because we saw that game get tighter. We saw it go on, and the Panthers were playing with some momentum until Lyon just let a terrible goal in.
I thought it was a killer, though, when the first goal they give up is a power play goal. Here you are. The Panthers have to play a near-perfect game, in my opinion. And here you're playing the best team ever, and you're giving them an immediate man advantage. You can't do that. You have to play. I think it was Tkachuk who said we have to play a near flawless game.
Talking puck. I love this. This is a serious breakdown. We haven't invoked the 96 Panthers or the Rats once.
Give me time.
I mean, their Achilles heel this season was penalties. They were tied for most
right?
in the league.
Yeah,
taking
and
penalties.
part of that's Matthew Tkachuk too. And Matthew Tkachuk, I'm not going to get on his case because he had a beauty, but what happened last year was the power play betrayed you, and you couldn't get those cheap, easy, dirty playoff goals that are just messy in front of the net. Boston already got a couple of those there. That's Tkachuk's specialty. Generate offense when there isn't some. And so maybe the Panthers need him to do more of that too, but I think it's unfair to demand more from Tkachuk when he showed up last night and Barkov hasn't.
Billy, what do I need to do, and what do the Panthers need to do to lure you in? You're already complaining about the time of the NBA games. You're complaining that Parenthood.
Right now, Dan, I'm on the Stanley Cup situation, so I can get back to you after that's been resolved. But I got a lot going on with the Heat, the Marlins. One game out of the playoffs right now, Dan. Woo! Don't sleep on the Marlins. I tried to tell you.
9-8
about 'em.
That's exactly right. And by the way, their worst pitcher is the Cy Young Award winner from last year right now. So they're looking pretty good.
So nothing.
Jorge Soler, by the way, is the Jorge Soler they thought they were getting last year.
Damn right, 5 dingers.
I think the
Ding
answer.
dong, who's there? Jorge Soler.
I think the answer to your question, Dan, is that the Panthers have to play baseball.
No, I watched the Panthers, but there was 3 other games on at that time yesterday. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where I have to flip the channels and figure out where the Panthers are.
Is that a thing?
There's also a lot of people that like the Panthers. You're like, I don't need to be in the
he
Panthers.
doesn't.
Other people can be in the Panthers.
But
you know what
last
I mean?
year I felt like we were close to luring you in. Is Ding Dong Who's There, Jorge Soler a
Put
thing?
it on a shirt.
That's not a thing though. That's
Greg Cote,
just
you can have it. It is now.
Ding Dong Who's There, Jorge Soler.
A bit wordy, I will grant.
I
you.
like it.
No, I like it.
You'll like this one, Dan. They're calling him El Cubano Gigante. You like the way I said that?
Isn't that a sandwich they
Oh,
have?
I love
Yes, it
that.
is.
El Cubano Gigante is also a 3-foot Cuban sandwich they sell at the park.
I had it yesterday. It's awesome.
You did not have the whole thing.
I mean, I shared it with some friends.
Not the whole thing.
I've been seeing a lot of that on my IG comments. El Cubano.
I've been getting it since childhood.
Yeah. A's jersey, not flattering.
My double chin and puka beads 6th grade photo. I've been getting El Cubano Gigante.
Ooh, puka beads. What color?
White.
Did it come in colors?
Did you do
course.
like
They're all white.
the square ones or like the round ones? You know how there's like the square ones that are like pieces of shell? That was like a thing for a little bit. Greg knows.
Did you have a ukulele too?
No, I wore puka beads.
Yeah.
They look like shells. They look like macaroni. The ones I wore.
Mine were more jagged, almost to the point where it was like gonna cut my neck.
Wait a
Yeah,
second.
same, Billy.
Is this a thing? Everyone here's had puka shells?
No, not everybody.
No, like
Not
a-
everybody.
You go on vacation, someone gives it to you. You feel you come back, you're away in a tropical place for a week. You think, you know what? This is who I am now. I'm a tropical person. And then you come back to reality and you're like, I look ridiculous, and you take it off.
How about a shark's tooth? Did any of you wear a shark's
Oh, when I was like
tooth?
8.
Classic, yeah.
Yeah,
Puerto
when you're like
Rico.
8. Mhm.
Yeah.
Stugotz, do you remember the movie Universal?
That's where I got it, in Puerto Rico.
Three
Yeah,
Americas.
don't judge me.
Stugotz, do you remember the movie Universal Soldier, where Dolph Lundgren had a necklace made of human ears?
Yes.
I
Wow.
was
jealous.
I was just confused. Why would you need any of those ears? You don't use your own. Dolph
Could use some
Lundgren.
extras.
Dolph Lundgren had how many human ears were on the necklace of Dolph Lundgren?
I'm counting 7, which means he didn't complete one job.
Why, Stugotz, were you in Puerto Rico when you got the shark's tooth? I wasn't judging you. I was just surprised that you
I just happened to be on a family vacation. That's where I got the shark tooth necklace. I was just making I was just pointing it out, Dan. That's all.
Miscounted, 8
Yeah.
years.
Yep.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at LeBatard Show. Did you wear puka beads or a shark's tooth on your necklace when you were young?
And was Jean-Claude Van Damme convincing as a U.S. soldier?
Is Jean-Claude Van Damme convincing as a U.S. anything?
I am constantly accused of being someone who thinks that things about Miami are different than other parts of the country. And I wonder, I know no one listening to this likes tow truck drivers, but I believe that Miami has a specific breed of tow truck terrorist that does awful things. And I saw last week, there was video of a tow truck driver grabbing somebody's stuff.
It's a tongue twister.
From somebody's car, getting money and jewelry and a variety of things. And I was unsurprised when I heard that Beach Towing had not yet fired that person, that person was caught on video and going back to work. And the reason I didn't think that person was fired is because I believe these people are being sent out to do that they are just running around South Beach. I mean, they're towing.
It's part of the job.
I feel like it is. It's understood. That's why the glass is bulletproof when you go to retrieve your truck. And I wonder, is this the case everywhere? Now, I know that tow truck drivers are bad.
What?
They are.
What? How
They
do you
are.
paint with a broad brush like that?
Yeah, that's a
he's
blanket
right.
statement.
He's right. No, he's 100% right. At
No.
least here in Miami.
Wow.
Power through.
$5.
That's the first one, right?
First fine. Yeah.
First fine. Come in
congrats.
here, bring it in here.
I
But
don't have any cash.
That's another fine.
$6.
Oh, wow.
Yes, this is a fine system that's prejudiced against young people.
Yeah, it's a new building, so we're going to keep track of these.
I don't even have a wallet.
We should have like an electronic tracker or something, like a ticker almost.
That's a
going.
good idea.
I love it. You're bringing cash back. That is amazing.
I'm not bringing it back, though. But I'm just finding people extra when they don't have cash.
Why don't
believe it's-
you Venmo the fine to the fine bucket?
Are they still a sponsor? Your money, your move.
Yeah.
Are they still a sponsor would be a good question to ask before just sitting in the joke of Venmo and just tossing it to us very slowly
Can I give
so
you
that
guys
we can
behind
enjoy the sponsor.
Can I give you behind the scenes stuff?
I'd love that.
Like that happened in sales. I'd probably get in trouble for saying this, but whatever. So there was a time where we were talking about like a sponsor for the fine bucket. We're like, what if we have like a Bitcoin type thing where people pay like in Bitcoin and you get paid out in Bitcoin? And I was like, maybe. And then FTX happened, and then that conversation never happened again.
Have you guys noticed right across the street, the arena has not yet removed the giant FTX from the top of the arena, and I believe it's just too heavy. Like that, it's such a giant thing that had to have cost so much money to put that FTX that can only be seen by airplanes and by helicopters at the top of the arena. It's such bulky stuff that I don't think they can get it out of there, even though they really should get it out of there.
Dan, saying it's too heavy makes me think of people went up on the roof and said, all right, let's get this off. Well, just put your back, look, get your legs into it.
There are machines for that.
Yeah, no,
too
too heavy.
Got to use cranes.
Too
and
heavy.
whatnot. During the NBA playoffs, probably a bad idea.
The boss is probably like whoever's in charge. Like, who sees the roof?
Right. Nobody sees. Just
Fine.
spray paint it.
Exactly.
Spray paint over it.
Put a tarp.
What if there's a
Fine.
blimp?
Spray paint it.
It's a good idea.
It's not a good idea.
5,000 cans of spray paint.
That's a good
That's-
idea.
you don't need that much. All you got to do is turn that F into a P. Now it's PTX, completely different company.
Well, it should be Quesana or whatever.
Oh,
it's
that's
called.
right, they
Yeah.
Kasaya.
Que
You
malo.
can't spray paint it. You would just be spray painting the stencil of FTX because it's not something that is on the roof of the arena and flat. It's off the roof of the arena and a giant heavy thing that's like giant. Yeah, you mentioned that.
Oh, it's so heavy. Oh, I can't do it, guys.
I think you're off on this. Spray paint will eliminate anything.
Yeah.
Like Greg is right.
That's
if you
right.
get a black can of spray paint, it eliminates anything, Dan. I'm serious.
It does. And if it's
Yeah.
on a white, let's say it's a white background, black letters, just to use an example.
Yeah.
Spray paint it white. Then when you're flying overhead,
Exactly.
$5.
you look down, you don't see anything.
Zagaki.
You see nothing.
I have a better idea. So instead of spray painting the sign, you just spray paint what's underneath it, the floor of the sign, or like the roof of the arena. You spray paint it the same color as the sign, and then you can't see it. And then with white spray paint, you just spray paint over Kaysan or whatever on top of the FTX. Yeah,
Right.
Kaseya.
whatever.
Kasana, what is that company?
Kaseya?
They had a big ransomware attack a few years ago, like within recent memory. That the company that now sponsors the Heat Arena. I'm not making it up. I hope they recovered from that. I assume they did. What? I'm not killing any show. I'm entering a
helpful.
fact.
He was
into the
being
conversation.
helpful.
Thank you.
You're adding.
You can look it up.
I assume if they gave money to the Heat for naming rights, he probably did bounce back.
Probably did bounce back. But look at FTX. I mean, look at the company you're keeping.
Touche.
Maybe
Quite
the
frankly.
Heat ransomwared them for the money for the arena.
It could be.
You okay?
Yeah, it's a very good point. I'm struggling a little bit. That's why I got an unmarked water here.
I noticed.
A very generic water. Mm-hmm. I wonder what brand it really is. It's good, though. I recommend it. I endorse whatever brand it is. If I knew what it was, I would endorse it. The Greg Cote Show podcast would take this unmarked bottle as a sponsor of ours. Okay. All right. Go about your show.
You take any sponsor.
I'm feeling a little shambolic today. It's my first day in the new studio.
Right.
It takes me time to adjust. Okay.
What's that word?
Shambolic.
Yeah.
I've never heard that
Oh,
word
you don't
before.
watch enough soccer.
Is that a soccer word?
Yeah, it's used all the
Shambolic
time.
Is it really?
Shambolic.
Oh, I didn't know that. Sort of, chaos, a little dishevelment. But it's my first time in the new studio. You know, I didn't have yesterday like you all did.
Plus a big horse race this morning for you.
I'm telling you what, Comley ran this morning in Lyon, France, and it was a big field. First time on turf. My filly came in fourth, a strong fourth.
Nice.
She started very badly. There was some criticism of the jockey, the way he ran the race for her, but she came on and finished like a half a length out of second place. So it was a pretty decent run. She did go off as the 2-1 favorite. So in that respect, it's a disappointment. We expected her to win.
Choked?
Well, let's that's a little
First time
harsh.
on turf, Dan.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Billy.
Clay court, usually.
Clay court.
Shambolic is one of those practical words, but I only associate it with a sport. Like moxie. I only associate that with quarterbacks.
Fair.
I had never heard shambolic used on a soccer field. I can hear it, though. I mean, it makes perfect sense. You know, you're disheveled on the back line. You know, you don't know what.
Have you ever used moxie to describe anything other than a quarterback?
Has a lot of moxie? No, I don't believe I have.
Backup white point guard. Slaps the floor. Deli, shambolic.
Put it
No, I
on.
mean,
Put it on the
moxie.
poll, please, at LeBatard Show. Juju, have you ever used the word shambolic? I heard Shams talking about comparing Austin Reeves,
Shambolic.
comparing Austin Reeves to Gordon Hayward, and I ask you, Amin, is there a black guy that we can compare Austin Reeves to? Because this only seems to happen to white dudes, where the only comparison is another white dude, and I don't think that Gordon Hayward is quite sufficient enough for Austin Reeves.
I don't think Gordon Hayward when I think of Austin Reeves. I'm trying to think of who I would say he plays like. You have to give me a second to think about that. But to give you a cross, ethnicity one, for instance, a lot of people have said this. Luka Doncic and James Harden are very similar in their ball domination and
That's really high praise.
what? For who?
For Austin Reeves?
No,
Oh.
he's saying Luka and James Harden are similar.
Oh,
He's
okay,
not
all
saying
right.
that Austin is either one of those
All right.
people.
Yeah. No, I'm still trying to find a non-white.
You're shambolic.
Gordon Hayward is also saying Gordon Hayward is like not a good enough player for Austin Reeves. Like that feels way far, right? Like Austin
Sherberry
Reeves
had
is
a
not
game.
quite.
He had
No,
a
no, that's
game.
my point.
Right.
That's my point. He
Okay.
had a game. Why are we comparing him to Gordon Hayward? Gordon Hayward was a max player.
Besides, he reminds me more of an Alex Caruso anyways.
I'm not saying that Austin Reeves is Gordon Hayward. I'm saying, why is it that we can only find another comp that's a white guy that would satisfy the praise? Because he was trying to go to a place where he took he's trying to tell you Austin Reeves is better than you think he is. Therefore, I have to go get a white guy that you actually respect as a player, and I've got to compare him to him.
Well, what about Kevin Herter?
What about it?
Like a good
Max
comp.
Strus?
Like a good comp.
I mean, I think of Herter as basically nothing but 3-point shots. You think of
What?
him-
No, he's a driver. Remember
Yeah.
D Wade when Herter was a rookie in the league, gave him his jersey? I was like, what?
his favorite player
who's
growing up.
this guy?
Yeah.
And then he turned out to be a really good pro.
You know who Austin Reeves reminds me of? Like a taller Tyler Hero. You know, a little bit of shit off the dribble. Good shooter, but a little streaky sometimes.
Not helping me cross ethnicities, though. You're just doing the same thing.
John Conker?
Oh, John Concar, yeah.
You're not going to be able to do it, are you?
I like that.
We're not capable of getting our minds around it.
We failed with one thing in the studio. We don't have a camera that gives us what Mike Ryan is Googling. Because I'd love to know what the Google search term was. White NBA players? Is that what you got? Right.
No, I typed in Austin Reeves comparison, and the
okay.
internet did not disappoint because all the comparisons are white players.
It's more Bogdan Bogdanovic to me.
Bogdan or Boyan?
Ooh, good question.
I mean, again, a smaller
Bogdan.
Boyan.
Also, I don't need the internet to think of white basketball players.
There's only like 7 of them anyway.
We're a minute from a Steve Nash reference.
No, we're not.
Actually, less than a minute because I just made one.
Yeah, it came soon.
Yeah, it came right from his mouth.
Go ahead. Take a vigorous congratulatory
I'm
sip
not-
of
it's
your
not a
generic
vigorous sip.
What
water.
about Grayson Allen?
Excellent.
The similar styles.
Not excellent.
How about like a thinner, more athletically mobile, more crafty, more athletic Joe Ingles?
Wow. See, when I think Joe Ingles, I think crafty.
Yeah, that's true. He is kind of crafty. Yeah.
Luke Kennard?
Oh,
That's a
look
good
at that. Yeah.
So we can't do it. The show has been broken by the inability to do this. We've got more dudes who look like white dudes in here than we've ever had, and we cannot simply do it. We cannot find somebody to cross ethnically.
No, I got one. What about Steve Nash?
Ah,
Good. He's right. Didn't I just say that? I believe I did.
Yeah, but
I'll
a
take
minute
credit
ago.
for that. I know. Yeah, it was just a minute ago.